Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're looking to cut through all the relentless noise around enterprise AI and get straight to the strategic truth,
Yeah.
the bits that really matter, well, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Our mission today really is to tackle one of the most crucial and, frankly, baffling paradoxes in business right now.
Yeah.
Why are organizations spending billions on AI, deploying it everywhere, only to realize, well, virtually no measurable return?
It's a massive contradiction, isn't it? We've been digging into the latest research on AI adoption, and honestly, the findings, they'd give any CFO a serious headache.
How so?
Well, you see this explosion in deployment speed, just AI everywhere,
Right.
but it's meeting this crushing failure when it comes to actually seeing value, seeing results.
Okay, let's hit you with the stark numbers straight off the bat just to set the scene. Our sources show 78% of organizations now say they're using AI in at least one business function.
78%, that's huge penetration, a massive jump year over year.
Exactly. You see the deployment, you see the excitement, the PR announcements are flying.
But then the reality check hits. Hard. Nearly 8 out of 10 companies, that's almost 80%, are also saying they've realized no significant bottom line impact from all those AI investments.
No significant impact, despite billions being poured in.
And this failure, this lack of profit, it's happening while the global AI market is just set to explode. We're talking projections of, what, an eye-watering $3.5 trillion by 2033? The money, the expectations, they're astronomical.
But the core conclusion we took away from digging into all this data is pretty striking. And it kind of flips the usual script. The failure isn't technological. It's not the AI's fault, so to speak.
No, not at all.
The failure lies in these fundamental strategic, organizational, and crucially governance gaps. The tech seems ready, the organizations, maybe not so much.
Exactly right. It's not about an inability to code or, deploy a model. That part's getting easier. It's about the inability to integrate that model successfully into the actual business, into the value chain.
It's a business transformation problem.
Fundamentally, not a tech problem.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's start maybe by diving a bit deeper into the sheer amount of money involved here and how maybe that money is currently being, well, misspent.
Yeah, good place to start.
We really aren't talking pocket change here, are we? The financial commitment, especially to generative AI, it's staggering.
It really is.
Sources highlight that generative AI alone pulled in, $33.9 billion globally in private investment just in 2024.
That's right, $33.9 billion, an 18.7% jump from the year before.
It shows organizations are really betting their future on this promise of transformation.
They are. But what's fascinating and a bit concerning is the analysis of why this investment isn't delivering. The research suggests this huge capital deployment is often driven more by hope than by strategic rigor.
Hope rather than rigor. What does that mean in practice?
It means companies are buying the shiny new AI models because, well, their competitors are. Or maybe they saw a demo that looked really cool. They're optimizing for speed of deployment, getting it out there fast, not necessarily for P&L impact.
So how does that hope actually manifest as failure? Can you give us an example? Like, what's a bad metric they might be chasing versus a good one?
Okay, yeah. The primary failure often lies in measurement. They focus on internal technical metrics success might look like. Great, we deployed the Copilot to 10,000 employees.
Right. Ticking a box.
Exactly. Or we increased the throughput of our data pipeline by 20%. Or maybe just we hit X number of API calls this month. These might be IT successes, sure, but they tell you absolutely nothing about whether the company actually made more money or saved significant costs.
So they aren't connecting it to the business value.
Not directly. A rigorous framework would tie that AI deployment directly to something tangible, like margin improvement, better customer retention numbers, or a quantifiable drop in the person hours needed for a specific business task. If the money is just tied to technical usage metrics, well, the results are going to suffer.
Okay, so investing billions, deploying like mad, but optimizing for the wrong things,
Yeah.
it almost guarantees failure, doesn't it?
It sets you up for it, definitely.
Yeah. The investigation we looked at identified 3 critical friction points that are systematically undermining AI value. And they go beyond just spreadsheets. They get into the, let's say, the messy reality of how organizations actually work. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Let's start at the very top. Friction point 1, leadership misalignment.
Leadership, okay.
The source material is really unequivocal on this. It calls leadership failure the single biggest impediment to AI success. Bigger than worries about technical skills, bigger even than budget constraints.
But hold on, if leadership mandated this huge investment, if they're the ones spending the billions, aren't they automatically invested in its success? How does their pressure actually lead to failure? That seems counterintuitive.
But they often confuse buying the technology with achieving the transformation.
Okay.
They treat AI as a technology problem, something you just, buy off the shelf and install. But it's fundamentally a business transformation challenge. It requires deep changes in processes, in
Right.
culture, in how people work.
We've seen this before, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. It's the same mistake many made during the early days of, say, big ERP implementations or the initial rush to the cloud. The pressure comes from the top down, mandating adoption, but often without clear value-based success metrics,
Right.
or without adequate governance or even realistic timelines for seeing a return on investment. That pressure to just deploy, rather than focusing on profit or value, it sabotages the whole effort before it even gets properly started.
Wow. So that failure at the C-suite level then cascades right down into the organization, which leads us neatly, I guess, into friction point number 2, these organizational conflicts that can end up as, well, source bluntly calls it sabotage.
Yes, sabotage. This is the human element, the messy politics of organizational psychology.
Always tricky.
Always. When these big AI initiatives are just imposed from the top down, without real consultation or proper change management, it triggers defensive reactions. It becomes highly political.
Especially from teams who feel threatened.
Exactly. Existing teams, particularly in departments whose roles might be most impacted, they start to see the technology as an existential threat. A threat to their jobs, maybe, or just to their department's influence and budget.
And I imagine the resistance isn't usually an open rebellion, is it? It's probably more subtle, like a death by 1,000 cuts.
Precisely. It rarely looks like a clear revolt. It's more often passive noncompliance or sometimes active but hidden undermining.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about a department head who's, let's say, subtly hostile to a new AI-powered planning tool. They might deliberately drag their feet on integrating the key data feeds needed to train the model effectively.
Setting data quality concerns, perhaps.
Exactly, citing ambiguous data quality concerns. Or maybe they'll claim the AI's optimized outputs don't meet our necessary regulatory requirements, knowing full well the real issue is they just haven't bothered to update their internal processes to actually use the new format.
Ouch.
Yeah. This kind of internal friction can absolutely kill projects long before any external market forces even come into play.
Okay, so we've got failed leadership creating pressure, which then fuels internal warfare and sabotage. If that wasn't enough of a challenge, we hit the third major roadblock, compliance and regulatory complexity. And this one directly hits the cost.
Yes, this is the big external force that's rapidly driving up the total cost of ownership, the TCO, for AI systems everywhere. Governments worldwide are rolling out increasingly strict data protection and AI governance rules.
And organizations are struggling to keep up.
Absolutely struggling to navigate that complex burden. It's a huge challenge.
We should probably define a specific term here that's emerging, one the source has highlighted. Sovereign AI demands. Sounds quite grand, but what does that actually mean for, say, an enterprise strategist listening right now?
Right. Sovereign AI demands basically refer to the requirement for AI systems, particularly those handling sensitive national data or personal information, to operate strictly within specific jurisdictional boundaries.
So within country borders.
Often, yes, and adhering to very strict data residency and governance controls defined by that country or region. This is a critical trend you really can't ignore. Think about how major markets, like the EU, are defining exactly where high-risk AI data must reside and be processed.
Or how countries like China mandate completely localized data storage and processing.
Correct. It means you can't just run your global AI model off a single centralized cloud instance somewhere in, say, the US, and expect to be compliant everywhere you operate.
So to sell your AI-powered product or even use your internal AI tools in Germany, for instance,
you might be legally required to ensure that the processing and storage of any German user data happens physically within German borders.
which means duplicating or segmenting infrastructure.
Exactly, which drives up that total cost of ownership exponentially, especially if you have to retrofit this compliance after the system's already built and deployed. The regulatory burden is becoming massive.
Okay, so failed leadership, internal sabotage, and exploding costs due to complex regulations. It paints a pretty grim picture of the current state for many. What does this all mean for strategy, then? If the current approach throwing billions at general-purpose tools isn't working, What's the pivot? What's the path to actually getting value?
Well, the core message from the research is that enterprises have to fundamentally rethink their investment strategy.
Rethink how?
They need to move away from this sort of AI everywhere mentality. That approach is characterized by broad deployment of what we can call horizontal utility tools.
Okay, what's a horizontal utility tool in this context? Give me an example.
Think of a generalized copilot, like a general-purpose AI chat assistant that gets rolled out to everyone, touching every function from HR to marketing to finance.
Okay, I see. Wide, but maybe not deep.
Exactly. These tools can provide broad convenience, maybe some incremental productivity gains here and there, but the value is very diffuse. It's incredibly difficult to measure directly against the company's P&L. They're proving insufficient for generating those multi-million-dollar returns executives expect from these huge investments.
So less generalization, more specialization. Like moving from a general contractor who does a bit of everything to a specialist neurosurgeon who does one thing incredibly well.
That's a great analogy. Precisely. The new focus, the pivot, needs to be aggressively towards domain-specific vertical AI agents.
Vertical AI agents.
These are AI agents built and trained very specifically to solve a single complex but measurable problem within a particular business function.
Like what?
Think of an AI agent trained solely to optimize logistics routing across your entire complex supply chain, or one dedicated entirely to identifying and resolving complex, high-value insurance claims much faster and more accurately than humans can alone.
That makes perfect sense. The value is targeted, it's measurable, and it's tied directly back to a specific business objective or KPI.
Exactly.
This shift, though, puts immense pressure, but also huge opportunity squarely on data management professionals, doesn't it? They seem uniquely positioned to bridge this gap between deployment and actual value.
Absolutely. They are critical.
So what are the actionable steps they should be prioritizing? What did the source material recommend for them?
The sources really crystallize it down to 3 core principles for data professionals. First, and maybe most importantly, governance first, technology second.
Governance first.
Yes. You absolutely must establish robust data governance frameworks, clear rules on data quality, residency, access controls, lineage before you even think about deploying the AI model widely.
This isn't just box ticking for compliance.
Oh, far from it. It's the fundamental infrastructure needed for sustainable value creation.
Right.
It ensures the AI model is consistently fed trustworthy, compliant data right from day one. Bad data in, bad results out, regardless of how good the AI model is.
Right. So build the guardrails before you even turn the key in the ignition. What about dealing with those tricky geopolitical issues driving up costs?
That leads directly to the second principle, architectural foresight. Architectural foresight,
Meaning you have to integrate regulatory foresight, specifically anticipating those sovereign AI requirements we talked about, into the earliest stages of designing your AI systems and data architecture.
So plan for complexity from the start.
Yes. Data professionals need to model the total cost of ownership for their systems, not just based on running it in one region, but anticipating mandatory localization across multiple key jurisdictions. Build those compliance capabilities into your data architecture from the ground up. It prevents the vastly higher cost and risk of having to scramble and retrofit compliance later on.
Okay, governance first, then architectural foresight. And finally, fixing that core problem we identified right at the start, the lack of bottom line impact.
That brings us to the third and arguably most crucial principle, measurement and accountability.
Tying it all together. Exactly. Data leaders must partner really closely with the business stakeholders, the people who own the P&L for that function, to implement rigorous measurement frameworks.
And these frameworks need to go beyond tech metrics.
Absolutely. They must demonstrate AI's value creation in quantifiable business outcomes. Things like reducing inventory waste by a measurable 5%,
Right.
or cutting customer churn in a specific high-value segment by 2 percentage points. Not just technical metrics like model accuracy or API calls.
That linkage, that's what translates the AI's potential into actual profit on the balance sheet.
That's the key. That's where the value is proven.
So this AI adoption paradox, it's clearly complex, driven by strategic neglect, organizational friction, regulatory hurdles,
Yeah.
but it does seem solvable.
It is solvable.
It just requires moving beyond the current sort of hype-driven approach and implementing a much more disciplined, value-focused strategy, one that starts long before any code gets written. That's fundamentally a management challenge, isn't it? Not purely a technical one.
Absolutely. It's about strategy, governance, and change management, first and foremost. For you, the listener, this investigation offers a pretty clear mandate, I think.
What should they be doing right now?
Our source material recommends 3 immediate steps. Data leaders, and business leaders really, should take now to move their organizations out of that unproductive 80% and into the profitable 20%. First, conduct a really comprehensive audit of your current AI governance frameworks. Know where your gaps are.
Okay, audit governance.
Second, develop those regulatory foresight capabilities. Start anticipating and planning for sovereign AI requirements now. Don't wait to be forced.
Get ahead of the curve. Makes sense. And
third, establish crystal clear value measurement frameworks that explicitly link AI performance directly to tangible business outcomes. Make that connection undeniable.
that seems like the required path to actually achieving success with these powerful tools.
It does.
The source material concludes quite powerfully, I thought, that the technology itself is ready. The models are powerful. The potential is there. The real question left for you, the listener, to consider is this. Given the complexities of compliance, the inevitability of organizational resistance, the need for strategic clarity, does your organization have the strategic discipline and the governance capabilities required to actually realize that multi-trillion-dollar value?
Yeah, that's the core question.
That's definitely something substantial to mull on.